In our previous videos, we worked on the iris graphic and the velvet graphic. Alright, in this third video, we're going to work on the final graphic with the two B's right here at the yellow. Alright, so I'm going to zoom in so we can get a better look and scroll over to the side. First thing I'm going to do is create the rectangle that is the backdrop. So I'm going to go to my shape tools, go to rectangle tool, and I'm going to drag out a rectangle roughly the same size. If it's not exact, that's okay. Alright. Let me close this. Alright, if your setup isn't quite like mine, let's just go ahead and go to Essentials and Essentials to make sure we have the same exact desktop setup. Alright, so having created my rectangle, I'm going to select it, make sure it's selected. I'm going to go ahead and give it a yellow color to start out with. So I'm going to this yellow must watch. Pretty bright, not exactly what we're looking for, but we'll get it there. Alright, now what I want to do is create a second fill for this rectangle. That'll give it the gradient right here that we have. So I'm going to select it, go to Appearance, select Fill, and go to Duplicate Selected Item. Alright, that'll create the second fill that I need. Alright, I need a gradient to apply it, and I'm going to go ahead and go with my radial gradient. Obviously, this looks nothing like this yet, so what we need to do is go ahead and select it, select our rectangle, go to the Transparency panel, and under Transparency we want to go to Multiply. Alright, getting closer. Alright, so at least yellow now. Now what we need to do is select it, select our rectangle, and go to the Gradient tool. So now selected, I'm going to put the point of the gradient kind of right above the rectangle and click and drag out and go quite a bit further than the actual edge of the rectangle. So drag out. Alright, I'm going to drag the center down just a little bit, and there we go. We've got a nice gradient on here. It gives it some depth. Alright, so it gets a light right here, it gets darker as it extends out, so we have a little bit of depth in our background. Alright, the next thing we need to do is we need to create this black shape right here. Alright, and to do that, what we need to do is go to our shape tools, click and hold it, and go down to the ellipse tool. Alright, just go ahead and drag out the ellipse. I'm going to click in the center, hold it down, I'm dragging out, and as I drag out, I'm going to hold down Alt and Shift. Alright, and there's our initial shape. Okay, right now mine's not black, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is go to my selection tool, make sure it's selected, and give it a black fill. Alright, so we've got the right color. Now we got to get that shape down. Alright, we could try to contort it with a pen tool and do all kinds of crazy stuff, but what we could really do here is take advantage of the warp effects. So I'm going to select my circle, I'm going to go to Effect, I'm going to go to Stylize, Warp, and hit Arc. Alright, click this off the side so you can see. I'm going to hit Preview. Alright, and what we got to do is we need to try to match up that previous one. Alright, clicking through here. Alright, I clicked it once and then clicked it again so I could just scroll down with my down arrow. Arc lower, not right, not arc upper, not arch, not bulge. Shell lower is close, but what we really need is shell upper. Alright, looks pretty close. Let's go ahead and OK, and we'll compare the two. Alright, so I clicked off, pretty close. I'm happy with it. The only thing I'm going to do is select it, go down here at the bottom, and extend it out just a little bit larger, a little bit longer this way. Alright, looks good to me. So what I need to do now is go ahead and expand the appearance so we can apply this warp permanently. So I'm selecting the circle, going to Object, Expand Appearance. Alright, voila. If you notice, before we get too far into this, there's a small shadow under that shape that gives this even more depth, makes it kind of stand out. So let's go ahead and add that drop shadow. So scrolling down, I'm selecting that object I just created. I'm going to go to Effect, Stylize, and go to Drop Shadow. I'll take my drop shadow box, move it over here so you can see. I'm going to hit Preview. Alright, looks pretty good so far. If you notice, my settings are at Multiply, the opacity is at 75, the offset is at 2. Alright, remember, the lower it goes, the more it goes off to the right or left, but we want it to be right about the middle, so let's take it to 0 points. The offset for the Y, the higher we go, the further down it goes this way. 15 points is good enough for me. The blur is at 5 points. Looks good. Hit OK. Alright, if we select it off, we see this shape that feels like it's kind of floating now. Alright, and that's the whole purpose of using gradients and using these style effects. It helps add depth to your graphics. Alright, now what we need to do is create these B's right here. So we'll go ahead and get started on that. Go into my type tool. I'm going to click off to the side here. Alright, my settings are at Arial, Regular, and 60 point. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and make a capital B. Let's take a look at it, compare it to the one next to it. Alright. It's a simple font, very modern, there's nothing fancy about it, nothing added to it to make it look crazy, so it looks pretty close. I think it's close enough that we can actually use it. So we're going to go ahead and go with this B that we chose, and we're going to give it a yellow fill. So we got this bright yellow. Give it plenty of contrast on there. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and right click and go to create outlines and turn it into a shape. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Alt, and while this is selected, I'm going to click and drag to clone it. So I have the two B's. What I want are two B's back to back. So I need to take this one, right click, go to transform, reflect. Alright, if you notice my reflection box has vertical assigned, and this does the job. So we want to make sure we hit vertical and hit OK. So we're going to select these, I'm going to drag them into the shape area. Alright, now what I need to do is group them together. To do that, I'm going to select one, hold down Shift, select the other, right click, and go to group. That way I can move them around and we'll have to keep clicking them individually. Alright, notice the B's up here are a bit larger, so I need to go ahead, go to the corner, click, hold it down, and hold down Alt and Shift, and increase the size. Try to fill up that space a bit more. Alright, I want to properly center this on my artboard and with my background here. So I'm going to select the B's as a group. I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to select the background. Alright, now they're both selected. Before I do anything else though, I'm going to click once more on the background, just once. Alright, if you notice, there's a larger blue border. This makes this a key object, which allows us to align this other object we have selected according to this one. So if I go to Align, and I go to Horizontal Align Center, right, it'll move this accordingly. Looks good, right where I want it. Go to my selection tool and deselect. Alright, we're getting close. Now all we need to do is try to get this shape right here that seems to be hovering over top, and it's a slight gradient. To do that, what I'm going to do is select the black shape that we created to begin with, because we notice this shape kind of mimics the shape that we created. So instead of trying to do the shape over exactly, we're just going to select the shape that we created, go to Object, Path, and go to Offset Path. What this is going to do is this is going to give us a second shape based on the shape that we have created. And the offset, what that does is that it creates it either larger or smaller according to what the offset is. If it's in the negative, it's going to be smaller than the shape that you have created. If it's in positive, it's going to be larger. Right now I have -8 points. I'm going to hit preview. Alright, looks pretty good to me. If you're in inches, for some reason if this shows inches, all you have to do is enter in exactly -8 space PT, and it'll convert it for you exactly. I'm hit OK. Alright, notice if I click off, deselect, it looks exactly the same. So what I have to do is go to the smaller shape that we just created, and I need to give it a different type of fill. Alright, what we have here is some type of gradient that has transparency. So I'm going to go to my swatches. If you notice, the one gradient that I have is fade to black. That's not going to do anything. What I need is a fade to white. To get there, what I need to do is go to the Swatch Libraries menu, select it, go down to Gradients, and if you can't see it on the video, you should be able to see it on yours. If you go to Gradients, there's a library labeled Fades. We want to go to the Fades, so select that. Alright, you'll notice pretty quickly that you have black fades and then you have white fade. So what we need here is a white fade. So we're just going to go ahead and fade to white, the first one we see. Alright. Alright, so we got the fade. It's a bit harsh, and it's going in the wrong direction, so let's go ahead and fix that. So we're going to select it, go to our gradient tool, and we want the light at the top and the dark at the bottom. So that did the job. Alright, it's looking a bit harsh still. What we need to do is bring it down some. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to go to transparency and bring it down to like maybe 75. Alright, so it's not so bright. I'm going to select it now. I'm going to arrange and send it to the front. Arrange, bring to front. Not exactly what we have here. What we have to do now is we need to take this, go back to transparency, and instead of normal, let's go to screen. What screen is going to do is it's going to lighten whatever's under it. Alright, so if you do that, you notice that now we can see the B a bit clearly now, and it's kind of lighter. Alright, also what we need to do is we need to remove some of this shape. To do that, I'm going to go to my ellipse tool. I'm going to create a circle. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and give it a solid fill so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to drag it over top. I can use my smart guides to kind of help me guide it in the proper area. I'm going to open up my Pathfinder tool so I can do some shape editing. Go to Window, Pathfinder, bring that up. Alright, I'm going to remove this area from that bottom shape. I'm going to go ahead and increase the size of this circle a little bit more. Alright, I'm going to select it, hold down Shift, and select that shape that I need to cut. Alright, I'm going to go to minus front to delete it. And there we go. Let's look at what we have. So let's deselect. Alright, looks pretty close. If you notice though, the B's look a little different. What we have to do is do a little warping. So let's select our B's right here that we created, and let's go to Effect, Warp, and let's go back to Arc. Hit Preview. Alright, I'm going to kind of scroll through and find the proper one. Arc isn't going to do it. Arc lower. Looks kind of nice. Let's hit OK and see what it looks like. Oh, if you notice, it warps right here, so we're not getting the exact same warp. So we need to go to a different type of warp. And to quickly do that, we're going to select, make sure it's still selected. If it's not, just click on it with your selection tool. And we're going to go to Appearance panel. If you open the Appearance panel, you'll notice, while this is still selected, we have Warp Arc Lower, what we just applied. Alright, so if we just click on the blue link, it's going to go ahead and bring it up for us, so we can just keep on altering it however we want. It's very convenient. So let's scroll down to Arc Upper, Arch. It's not showing me, so what it's telling me I need to hit Preview. Arch, not what we want. Bulge. Alright, Bulge is much closer. We have the same distortion up top and the same one down the bottom, and the middle stays nice and clean and straight. So let's hit OK. Alright, looks closer. I need to resize it some, bring it down. So I'm going to the edge. I'm holding down Alt and Shift and changing the size a little bit. Alright, and there we have it. Alright, our final graphic for the text graphics file.